Good morning. I'm going to show you another way for you to explore on your sourdough journey, and I hope you love this loaf as much as I do. Today we are doing a croissant sourdough loaf. The crust is impeccable to most because it's that soft, buttery, flaky crust you're going to achieve around the outside of your sourdough loaf after you bring it out of the oven. It tastes just like a croissant, but it's a big, huge loaf of sourdough bread, and it's delicious. It's almost divine, some would say. At least I would say it's divine. Tastes super good. All right, with that being said, I'm going to show you how to do that today and exactly what you need. Some tools are a must and some optional ones, and of course the recipe. So let's get into it. You're going to need 675 grams of unbleached bread flour. You're going to need 445 grams of filter water. I'm using spring water, by the way. You're going to need 150 grams of active peaked yeast, hence active starter. And in this little jar, you're going to want to add 5 grams of avocado oil and 15 grams of sea salt and 15 grams of organic raw honey, okay? And as far as the butter goes, which is the main inclusion in here that makes that buttery soft crust, you're going to need 150 grams of salted butter. Make sure when you grate your butter up, it's the smallest setting on your grater, okay? All right, so now that we got what the ingredients is, let's go over some of the must-haves and some of the optional tools you're gonna need. You're definitely gonna need a bowl and a lid. You're definitely gonna need a kitchen thermometer. You are definitely going to need a scale. If you do not have a scale and you're measuring cups, I'm sure will come out close enough, but it will not be exact like I am doing it, so please keep that in mind, all right? These 3 are optional. Oh, and I almost forgot, you're definitely going to need a pen and a piece of paper, okay? So these 3 are optional. I like to have a nice little silicone spatula to get my starter out and my little honey, salt, and avocado oil out of there. And a nice little stainless steel whiskey poo is really nice to have to mix your water in your starter and get your, your dough looking all shaggy at the beginning, okay? And this little buddy I like to have is just like a nice little glass, kind of like a shot glass type shape. And what I do is I take a little bit of dough out that, and this is just, and I put it in there, and it's just another way for you to help you along your bulk fermentation times, okay? And I put a nice little silicone lid on top of that. All right, so now that we got the basis of everything we need, first things first, I want you to go ahead and put your grated butter back in the fridge. We won't need that until our second round of stretch and folds. And as far as the water goes, let's take our 445 grams of our filtered water or my spring water, and let's go heat it up to about 95 to 98 degrees. With that being said, I will see you back here when my water is heated up, okay? All right, got my water heated up. It's coming in at exactly 98 degrees. Let's go ahead and add our active yeast, hence active starter, okay? All right, now we got it. Let's go ahead and give it a good mix. And you will always know when you got your starter right at its peak, or even better, if you have a very, very strong starter, on the amount of froth that you get. So the more frothy your starter ends up looking like, you know you did a really good job, all right? So just give this a good mix until it gets all frothy, all right? All right, this is what I mean by super frothy. You see how nice and frothy that is? All right, let's set our whisk aside. Now is the time before we add our flour to go look at your clock and mark your time down on your piece of paper, because this is the time your bulk fermentation time starts, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and add our flour. Perfect. All right, let's just give this a good mix. You're just going to want to mix this up until we get this nice, wet, shaggy looking dough, okay? I like to go around the sides. And I think a lot of people don't realize this is a very important part of you being able to, for your dough, hence your bread, after you cook it, to be very successful at coming out. And I think a lot of people miss this part at the very beginning. So if you are struggling with maybe your dough not having that nice oven spring, or maybe you're struggling with it being gummy, etc., flat is another one, is because you are not strengthening your gluten at the beginning of you making your dough. So if you're struggling with that, this is why you are not spending enough time strengthening your gluten strands right at the beginning. Okay, so this is what this should look like. Nice and shaggy. Okay, no dry spots. All right, so now this is the time that we are going to be working our dough, okay? So I like to just slide this right off my whisk, just like so. Okay, just like that. Now I am going to go get my little flexible silicone bench scraper that I forgot to show you at the beginning of the video, and we are going to be taking this outside the bowl, and I'm going to be showing you how I like to mix my dough. I find works the best. And remember, we are going to be mixing our dough for 20 minutes, okay? Okay, now that I got that, this is what I'm talking about. Nice little flexible silicone bench scraper. So what I do is I take this out like that, and I will get all the little dough pieces, as much as I can, out of my bowl, okay? Just like that. Scrape as much as you can off. I'll show you kind of what the bowl looks like after I get done. All right. Bowl should be looking like that. Set that aside. Now, before we do this, let's do two things. That bowl that we had our flour in, I want you to just go put a 1/4 cup in that. And after you get done that, set your timer for 20 minutes and we will be back and I'm going to show you how to work your dough, okay? You'll thank me after we get done working the dough with this. You'll thank me later after working the dough with this flour, okay? With that being said, go set your timer. I'll see you back here in just a second, okay? Okay, now that we got our timer set, here's our dough. What I like to do is just scrape most of this off. Get your hands, okay? Get it kind of right in the middle of the camera shot there. And this is what I like to do. I like to just go back and forth with my dough like this. Kind of do this rocking motion, okay? I'm going to show you 3 different ways that I work my dough for 20 minutes, so you can do this too, and then I will see you back in 20 minutes when we're done. So at first, I want you to notice the dough. See how it just tears apart? We don't have much gluten strength yet. We will. This is going to change. I want you to notice how your hands are all sticky looking. Okay, so what I do is I do this rocking motion, just like this. I start out doing this. And after a minute or so, you're going to notice the dough getting away from you. Get your scraper, get it back in a ball, something like that, and just keep going with this. And what I like to do sometimes is after about a minute of doing that, I will flip my dough up, smack it down on the counter. Keep going like that. Go up like this, flip it up, smack it down on the counter. Just keep going with that. You can get all, get your dough back up and keep going like that. Just keep going like that with it. And then every couple minutes, what I'll do is I will pick my dough up and I will stretch it and I will stretch it and I will stretch it and I slap it back down and I keep doing this motion. I do this for another minute or so, just like that. And then I'll pick my dough up and I will slap it. Going like this for another minute or so, and I'll pick my dough up and slap it. Just keep going like that. Those are the 3 different types of ways that I work my dough for 20 minutes, okay? And you're going to notice the more you work your dough, the easier it is going to get. Now, if your dough gets away from you, just get your bench scraper. Scrape it back up like that. Make sure you didn't miss any pieces. And just keep going with it, just like that. And you're going to find, look at that, even after a minute or 2 of doing this, the gluten's already getting stronger, okay? So with that being said, those 3 different motions, like I said, rock back and forth, pull up, stretch it, pull forward, pull back and stretch it, pull forward, pull back and stretch it. Keep going like that. Just like that, like I said, pick your dough up, slap it down. Pick your dough up, slap it down. And you will find the more you do this rocky motion, the easier it's going to be to slap your dough. And if your dough gets away from you like that, pick it up, go back to a stretch, go back to a stretch, and then just do this motion for another minute or 2 and do the slap, then pick it up and stretch it, go back to this for another minute or 2, do another slap like this, just like that, So what you're doing is picking your dough up and you're flipping it over like that, okay? All right. So just kind of those 3 different motions. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Just work it for about 20 minutes. With that being said, I will come back about the 20-minute mark, and you're going to notice how much different your dough feels from this sticky, ooey gooey mess to barely anything at all. Like your hands will pretty much not have so much dough on it as it was from the beginning. With that being said, I will see you back in 20 minutes, okay? Okay, it's been 20 minutes, so this is what I like to do. I like to give it one more slap, just like that, maybe 2, just like that. I'll pick it back up. Whoop. I will just stretch it as far as it will go one last time. And what I do is I get any excess dough that I've created from picking it up and stretching it, just like that. Rub it together one more time, and I want you to see something. Remember from the beginning? Look at that gluten strength. Look at that window pane already. And that's just 20 minutes of strengthening in our dough. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our bowl, okay? We're going to pick this up. We're going to get this into a semi-nice ball, something like that. Set that in there, okay? Get any excess dough you got off, any bigger chunks. And I want you to look at the hands compared to when we first started. This is a product of strengthening your gluten and working your dough for 20 minutes before we're going to leave it to rest for an hour. Okay, so now that we got that, okay, we're going to go ahead and temp our dough. Okay, we're going to set that aside. All right, and I want to show you something. So first things first, let's get our buddy. Okay, what I do is I just take a little chunky poo. It doesn't have to be much. I rolled that up, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. We're going to add this back into the dough towards the end. So we're not going to really be wasting our dough. We're just going to stick it back in there towards the end. Okay. Okay. Should look something like that. Okay. And you can even, I'll draw a little line on it for you. It doesn't have to be much. You can spread it out looking like that. What you're going to do is you can set the lid on that, set that aside. Okay, now why this is temping up, I want to show you something. Okay, look at our counter. See how this is just remnants of flour? Now remember that bowl I told you to take? Take a little bit of that flour out, pretend this is the trash can, and start getting any of the excess dough off your hands. And this will save you from washing your hands in your sink and putting that dough that has the active yeast in it down your pipes and clogging up your pipes, okay? Doesn't take you very long to do this. Just enough where you can manage to clean your area up and go wash your hands without having a bunch of excess dough on it. Something like that. Okay, I'll finish this up after I get done going over everything else, and then I will officially see you back in an hour, okay? So that's how you clean your hands up. Just like that. Keep going. It'll take most of it off. Okay, there's a little tip for you. All right, for reference, dough is coming in at 78 degrees. Okay, so let's mark that down. 78 degrees. And my house is coming in at 75 degrees. Okay? All right. Okay? All right, so with that being said, we got our dough. What we're going to do is we're going to cover this up. All right, we're going to set our dough aside on our kitchen counter. A little tip for you. I like to do this too because sometimes our counter is cooler than the warm air in our house or the temperature in our house. I take a nice little silicone mat and I place that under my bowl like that on my counter. And it's just like little insulation for your bowl. So the counter is not cooling your dough down and the bowl down. That, you know, your dough is going to come to room temperature basically. Okay, so we got that set. With that being said, I will officially see you in 1 hour for our first round of stretch and folds, okay? Okay, it has officially been an hour. Let's take a look at our dough. This is what it's looking like. All right, this is how I like to do my stretch and folds. I like to get some very, very warm clean spring water when I do this, okay? So I get my hands nice and wet. So when I do my stretch and folds, I go north, south, east, west, okay? So let's start at the north. Pull this up. And I'm going to pull this as far as it'll let me go, all the way up. Okay, we got the north. Let's do the south. Okay. Get it in there, all the way up. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Okay, we got the south. Let's go to the east. Okay. Stretch, 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 stretch. Keep going. Even pull this down a little bit. Keep going up. Got the east. Let's go to the west. Okay. Stretch, 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 stretch. Just like so. And what I do is I set this back in a ball. Nice ball. Just like so. Anything that was stuck on your hands. Kind of like to scrape the bowl a little bit, just like so. Okay, now let's go ahead and temp our dough. Okay, make sure you get the thermometer right in the heart of the dough without touching the bowl. Okay, you just want it right in the center of the dough. All right, and our dough looks like it is coming in at 77 degrees. Okay, so let's mark that down, 77 degrees. Okay, we're going to call it at 77. All right. Let's cover this back up. Lid's on good. Set that right over there. Okay, and my house is holding steady at, let me get my temperature. My house is holding steady at 75 degrees. Okay. All right, with that being said, I will be, yes, but you will be officially coming back in another half an hour for our second round of stretch and folds and to add the butter. Now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go get that butter that was in the fridge, and I want you to set it out on your counter because we don't want this ice cold when we put it in our dough. We just kind of want it to warm up to room temperature without melting. Okay, with that being said, go get your butter, set it next to your bowl, and we'll be back in a half hour to add the butter, okay? Okay, it has been another half an hour. This time, we are going to be adding our salt, our honey, and our avocado oil with the butter. So just give your little jar a good little mix. Mix it up just a pinch. Now the salt will be dissolved, but what you're going to see in here is mostly the honey, it is the honey, but the sugar from the honey, that's most of those like thick crystals. So it's kind of a neat little thing to see. Just mix it up, something like that. Okay, all right, now we are going to take our dough and we are going to spread this on here. Spread that out the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It'll get all incorporated evenly eventually. Get that all in there. Okay. Much as you can out of it. Just like so. Just like that. Okay. You're not going to get all of it, but that's quite all right. Just like that. Okay. Give one last scrape. Okay. Put that back in there. I kind of just spread the honey out like that. Honey and the salt and the olive oil. Something like that. Okay. Set that aside. Now, and of course, with some warm, clean water, clean hands, clean water, okay? Let's go ahead and take our butter. Okay. What we're going to do is we're just going to spread this out evenly, okay? The best you can. Try and get those big chunks out. Kind of go like that with it. I promise you it will get evenly incorporated the more we do stretch and folds and stuff like that with butter. And I'm going to show you a little trick adding any type of inclusions on your dough to evenly get it distributed throughout your dough. Okay, so we're almost done with that, the best you can. Okay, it is butter, so it's going to be a little softer, okay, than cheese or peppers or spices or anything else. Okay, look like that. And last little bit chunks. Okay, so now what you're going to start doing is we are going to start evenly incorporating this, and I'm going to show you how to do layers. So when we're going to start dimpling our dough, but we don't want to go all the way through the dough. We just want to start dimpling on the top of the surface of the dough, just like so. And we are going to find the more we do this, the further in the butter gets incorporated in the dough on the top of the surface. So just keep going with it like this. Doesn't take very long. Oh, look at the bubble. You know you did a good job when you already see a bubble on the second round. Okay, something like that. And you can squeeze out any big chunks you feel that you've pushed down too far in there, something like that. Squeeze that around. Something like that. Just be gentle. Okay, now fill your butter. Is none of it moving? Like that. Okay, so now we're going to take the water and we're going to go north, south, east, west again. But in this time, we're going to pull up on it, stretch as far as it will go. We're going to lay this down. And what we're going to do is we're going to dimple it. Every time we rotate the bowl, we are going to dimple this, so this ensures that this gets incorporated evenly. Okay, so we did the north. Let's go to the south, get our hands wet a little bit. We're going to come back up with this. We're going to stretch this as far as it will let us go. Keep going with it, keep going with it, keep going with it. Place it back down. Dimple it back in, just like so. Okay, let's go to the east. Okay, we're going to come all the way up with this. Stretch, 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 stretch. All the way back down. Go ahead and dimple it in. And what you're doing is you are creating layers for your butter to get evenly incorporated in your dough. So the reason why we're dimpling it in sections, so if you had a big huge chunk of butter, you're pushing down on it and pushing it back out so it's not just clumped. Okay, let's go to the final side. We're going to come back up. We're going to pull up as far as the dough will let us. Pull it back down. Just like that. Dimple it in. Okay. Just like so. Get that in there. And what I like to do is I just like to pick my dough up like this. And I will just squish it in a ball, and you will notice you'll have some butter spots over there, and that's okay because, like I said, this is how you create layers. In any inclusion loaf that you're doing, do it this way, and you will evenly distribute your inclusion so you don't get those big fat chunks, or it doesn't cause, big huge holes, or even worse, gummy, because you had too much inclusions in one spot and it wasn't able to cook all the way through. So that's how you prevent that. All right, so now that we got it like that, let's go ahead and temp our dough. Okay, we're going to go right in the heart of the dough. Don't touch the bottom of the bowl, just right in the heart of the dough right there, okay? All right. So to recap, on our first round of stretch and folds, my house was coming in at 75 degrees and the dough was coming in at 77. Okay, now we're going to notice that the butter, because it was colder than what our dough is going to drop temp a little bit, but that's okay. We really do want this dough to be in the 75 to 77 degree range. And at the end of this video, after we get done, after we shape it, I'm kind of going to give you a good explanation of why I prefer my dough to be that way. All right, with that being said, our dough is coming in at 73 degrees. Okay. And my house is coming in at 75. Okay, and normally what happens is our dough will always warm up to how warm our house is or how warm its surrounding is. Okay, all right, we got that set over there. One more thing I wanted to show you is our buddy. There's where I marked it. As you can see, it's starting to grow, right? You're not going to see much action right away because the temperature of our dough right now, but we're going to see some action here in the next couple stretch and folds that we do that. Okay, so that's our buddy sealed up. I always set it next to the bowl. With that being said, I will officially see you in another half an hour, okay? Okay, we're back for our third round. Here's our nice, warm, clean water with our clean hands. Let's set our buddy aside over here for a second. Let's check out our dough. This is what this is looking like. Okay, we're going to do another round of stretch and folds, okay? So get your hands nice and wet. We're going to pull this up. Stretch, 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 stretch. Lay it back down. Remember, north, south, east, west. Let's go to the south. Pull this up. That's good. It's pulling up out the bowl. Okay, south. Okay, we're going to go to the east. Stretch, 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 stretch. East. Okay, and let's go to the west. Okay, stretch, 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 stretch. Any little last bit of little butter pieces, just stick back in there. And what I like to do on this third round, what I like to do is I just like to roll my dough the best I can into a ball. Okay, now it's going to be a little slippery because the butter, but I promise you it'll be okay. Get it into a nice ball. You can even try to roll your dough up like that the best you can. Okay, just like so. I kind of smooth it out. Okay, just like so. And you can position this as tight as you want, as loose as you want, etc. I just like to have it in a nice neat ball. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and temp our dough. Okay, like always, get it in the heart of the dough without touching the bottom of the bowl. Let me check the temperature of my house. It's coming in at steady at 75 degrees. Okay, so let me mark that down. 75 degrees. Okay. All right, and our dough is coming in and it's still climbing. So just give this another like 5-10 seconds until those tiny little digits quit moving, okay? Okay, our dough is coming in at 73 degrees. Okay, we're gonna mark that down. 73 degrees, the house is coming in at 75. Okay, all right. With that being said, okay, what we're going to do is we are going to cover back up our bowl. Okay, just like so. We're going to set it right there. We're going to take a look at our buddy. Just like that. Okay. Okay, and what we are going to do is we are going to come back one more time in a half an hour and do a nice quick coral fold on 4 sides. And then that's going to be it. And we're going to let the dough rest a couple hours. Okay, so I'll see you in another half an hour. Okay, it's been another half an hour. Let's set our buddy aside. Okay, this is what our dough's looking like. We are going to do 4 sets of stretch and folds, and I'm going to talk to you about a few things, and then that's going to be it. We're going to let it rest for a few hours. So we're going to go, just going to pull up, place it back down, rotate the bowl, pull up, place it back down, rotate the bowl, pull up, shake it a little, place it back down. One more time. Pull up, shake it a little, place it back down. Now this is what I like to do since this is the last time I will be touching the dough for a few hours. Get it in a nice ball, just like so. Try to get it as even as possible. Smooth out the sides, but you don't have to do that. It's going to be quite all right. Okay. All right. So like always, let's go ahead and temp our dough. Okay. Okay. Right in the heart of the dough. All right. Okay. Our dough is coming in at 75 degrees. Do you remember when I told you your dough will usually heat up to what your house temperature is? This is a good thing. So my house is coming in at 75 degrees. My dough is coming in at 75 degrees. Let's go ahead and cover this up. Okay, let's set that aside. Let's go ahead and take a look at our buddy. This is what our buddy's looking like. Okay. Now, since it's coming in cooler, we're not going to see quite much movement yet, okay? Because when our dough is coming in at 75 degrees, that means it's probably going to take anywhere from 6 to 7 hours to finish its bulk fermentation, its counter bulk fermentation time, not the entire bulk fermentation time, just the amount of time it's going to take to bulk up on our counter, okay? So that's what our buddy's looking like. All right. So with that being said, all right, I am going to officially come back at the 6-hour mark from the time I started my bulk fermentation time this morning. So with that being said, I will see you on the 6-hour mark, okay? All right, we are on the 6-hour mark. Let's go ahead and look at our dough. It is definitely growing. Let's do the jiggy. It's jiggling. Now, just don't go off the time, okay, and the temperature. You need to go off some of your senses too. So I like to do a few different ones. I like to see the jiggle. If it rocks in your bowl, that's a good sign. Now get some clean, dry hands and touch the dough. This is a good sign. It's not sticky. Now that could be because of the butter, so don't let that fool you, okay? Another thing you can do is poke down on it. If you poke down on it, does it come back up or does that dent kind of stay? You see how it's kind of staying like that? That's kind of a good thing. If it doesn't come right back up, it's getting close to being done. That's good. Let's pull the sides. Okay, now let's look at our gluten. Let's see how strong we form this gluten. I don't know if you can see that, but if you can pull this back without ripping and see the shadow of your fingers, you did a really good job forming, strengthening your gluten. So this looks pretty good. And another thing I want to show you is, see how this is pulling away from the bowl? That's a good sign. That means this is getting close. See the bubble coming up? There's another bubble coming up. That one. There's one right there. There's one over there. That's a good thing. Now let's go ahead and temp the dough, okay? Let's get it in the heart. All right, so let's recap. Our last time we temped the dough, it was coming in at 75 degrees. So we will see what this is coming in at if we could probably leave this for another half an hour to another hour. All right, well, it looks like it's still coming in at 75 degrees. That is a good thing. And you can look at the sides also too. It's not touching the sides. That's a good thing. I think what I'm going to do is I think we can leave this another half an hour. And I think that's going to be a half an hour to another hour. And I think that's going to be a safe bet. Because of the jiggle, it's jiggling, but it's not going woo. It's like really, it's not really wobbly yet in the bowl. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to let this sit another half an hour. Okay. And then we'll be back in a half an hour. And I'm going to guess in a half an hour from now, it's going to be more than likely ready to go. Here's our little guy. See the dome starting to dome. It's starting to dome. And it's not quite domed, but it's starting that domage. You see that? Let's see if I can get that. There we go. You see how it's starting to dome, but it's not quite that big dome yet? That's another sign in your little cup that you can leave that another half an hour. But I want you to look at all these little holes coming in. See the holes? See that? Very nice. You can see all these teeny tiny little holes coming in. This is a good sign. All right. With those judgment calls and the temperature, and my house currently is still coming in at 75 degrees, okay? So with all those factors being played, we can use our best judgment today, and we're going to leave this for another half an hour. Then I'll be back in a half an hour from now, and then we will take a look at it. With that being said, see you then. Okay, it's been another half an hour. Let's go ahead and check out our progress. Ooh, very nice. Let's do the jiggle. Oh yeah, it's jiggling a lot better. Just coming along very nice. Now clean hands like always. Go around the dough. And of course, like I said, more than likely it's very clean because of the butter, but that's a good sign that it's not sticky at all. I want you to notice all the new bubbles that are coming up. There's one right there. There's one right there, right there, right there. There's a big one. That is a really good sign. Let's pull the sides. That's a good thing. There's another big one right there. Now, let's do the poke test again. I want to try to show you something. Stick that down in there. Okay. See that dent? See that dent I made? And it's not completely stained, but it's barely coming back up. Let's see if I can give you one more example. How about right here? Stick that in there. Oh, perfect. Okay. See that dent? See how that dent's kind of just staying there? Just like that. That is a very good sign when it's barely, see, it's barely coming back. This is a really good sign that your dough's pretty much ready to go out of the bowl. Okay, so let's temp this one more time. And I feel like the way it is, we could probably even leave it till the complete 7-hour mark, but I think we're going to be okay. So let's go ahead and give this about 5-10 seconds to get up to temp, and then we're going to make a judgment call. Okay, it's coming in at 75.7. So it's on the higher end. Let me write that down. 75.7. It's almost 76. So this is a pretty good sign, especially with those big bubbles coming in, that we can go ahead and dump this. So this is my time. I'm going to get my bowl, my flour cloth, my rice flour, and I'm going to dump it out. We're going to shape it. I'm going to show you how I do that, put in the bowl, and we're going to call it a day. Okay, first things first, this is my little bowl that I like to use. It's actually like a salad strainer, I guess, but it, you know, I always just use what's kind of floating around the house, and for some reason this works out really, really good. I've had it for a long time. I think I actually got it at a thrift store for like $1/4 maybe, a long time ago. So it worked out good. So what I do is I got one flour cloth, and then my big flour cloth, this, I'll get my big one and I'll kind of fold it in half, kind of something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, something like that, and I'll just tuck that down in there like that. Okay, all right, something like that. And what I do is I get my rice flour. Okay, I got my rice flour right here, and I just sprinkle a little bit on the basket. We won't need much because this is not going to stick because of the butter. And one beautiful thing about rice flour is it's a little bit on the grittier side. So it prevents your dough from actually sticking to your, if you were using a banneton or a flour cloth. But since it's gritty, it wipes right off after you take it out the next day after it's cold proofing. It's really neat. I'm becoming a big fan of the rice flour. So all right, so we got our basket prepped. This is how I like to do this, okay? All right. I like to sprinkle the rice flour on top, just like so. And I pat this down. And one thing, really neat thing also about rice flour, when you put this in your bowl, you can really show, like, see that right there? You can really see how that's separating, how it's completely separating from the bowl, which is kind of a nice thing. All right, so now that we got that, more than likely I think we knocked our bulk fermentation out of the park, so we're just going to dump this and see what it looks like. Okay, and you're not going to need much flour on your countertop if you knocked your bulk fermentation out. Okay, so what I do is I'm just kind of very patient with this, and I kind of let it come out all on its own. Sometimes you can rock it just a pinch if you need to. I kind of just do these tiny little circle motions. You really do want your dough to come out all on its own. All right, let's take a look. Wow, we did good. That right there is butter. That's butter. I should put that on there. Look, you can tell, look at the big butter chunk. That is butter. But all this down on the bottom is butter. We did it. If you pull your dough out of your bowl and it looks like this, you don't have any big chunks, there's no big dough stuck at the bottom, you knocked your bulk fermentation out of the park. This is what your bowl should look like every single time. Using your senses, using your temperature, and using the time gauge. Okay, all right, there we go. All right, so what I do is I get a little more rice flour on my hands. Remember, this is inside the dough, so we don't want to flour that. Next thing's next. Let's take a look at our buddy. It started out right here, and then it's gone clear up to here. You can see the dome, how it's domed. That's a good thing. I want to show you one more thing. See that? See how that dent is stained? It's not really going anywhere. That's a good sign our dough is ready. We did a good job. But that's it. Before I take this out and add it into our dough, I just want you to look at that. This is what your little helper will do for you. See how that's kind of just staying there? That means we don't have to leave this on the counter. When your dent stays in like that, you could just shape this and put this right in the fridge, and I always shape it, put it right in the fridge anyways, but this is what I do. So you're not wasting your dough. Take that out. Getting a little bit of rice flour off of there. And I just stick it right in the dough. It'll be fine. It'll cook away. All right. Or you can save it to the end. You can put it on the bottom, but yeah, let's go ahead and throw this in the middle of the dough. Why not? Let's stretch it out. Oh, and look. Let's check our window pane. Why don't we do that with it? If you can pull that back without it ripping, see, like that, and you can see your fingers, you did a really good job. All right, so let's kind of go like that with it. All right, so this is what I do. Now remember, we're going to let this sit for about 5-10 minutes, and then we're going to really tighten it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a pre-shape, but we're going to get some good tension on this, okay? All right. And you're going to be able to feel all the butter pieces in here, some of the butter pieces, which is kind of neat. You don't want to completely decompress it. See, there's a little bit of butter right there. This is what I do. Pull it on the side like that. And then this one I stretch all the way over like that. I get it into a nice burrito. I pinch these sides down at the bottom. And I'll come at, let me pull this down. And then I'll come up at the top and I'll pinch these. See if I can show you. And I pinch that. Okay. I pinch those sides just like that. Okay. I come back up and I pull this back. Give it a turn. Pull it back. Give it a turn. Pull it back. Give it a turn. Pull this back. Give it a turn. Pull it back. Give it a turn. Just like that. Now what I do is I tuck. You can squeeze these little guys together, okay? Kind of like that. All right. Now remember, this is the top of our dough. So what we are going to see, look at the bubble. What we are going to do is we're going to cover this back up with this bowl, and I will see you probably, let's let it rest for a good maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to say about 10 minutes, and we're going to be back. We're going to do a final shape, throw it in this basket, and that's it. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. This is what our dough is looking like. Okay. You shouldn't need any flour on your counter. So now is the time what we're going to do. Remember, always flour on your hands, never on the dough. Okay. So this is what we want to do. We want to give this one final tension. Okay, I pull up and back down. You can use your little scraper if you like. Guide you. You're just going to pull up, back, and gentle because we don't want to totally flatten our dough. Up, back, up, back, up, back, back. Just like this type of motion, okay? Keep going with it. Sometimes it's better if you just use your hands too. We're just cupping that, pulling it back, cupping, pulling it back, cupping, without trying to rip the dough, okay? Just gonna give it some more good tension. Scoot, 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 scoot. Scoot, 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 scoot. Okay? You kind of want the same gliding motion. And it's going to be pretty nice because it's got butter, so it's going to glide very easily for you. Okay. So with that, now since our basket is kind of shaped like that, this is what I do. Kind of just, I get my little scraper guy, and I kind of make it, even, you know, you can kind of shape it any way you like. Okay, kind of like that. See how it kind of shaped like that? We got to get some good tension on it. Okay, let's get our basket. Okay, so remember, this is the top. So what you want to do, sprinkle just a little bit more rice flour on it. You don't need much. Tap off the excess. See how it kind of just falls, but we're preventing it from sticking. So there we go. Okay, all right, we're going to go like this. Okay, I'm going to bring this over, gently place this in our little basket. Okay, that's it. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to give this just a little bit more tension, but we don't want any flour on this yet because we want to give this some good tension. So what we want to do is kind of go like something like this. I like to pinch this. Okay, and what I'll do, without ripping the dough, because it does have butter, be careful, see how there's butter? You can kind of go like that, and you can pull one up that way. You can pull your dough that way. You can pull, we're just giving it a final tension, like that. You can pull the sides, you can pull this up like that. Something like that. You just want to see how that's a big butter chunk right there. We don't want to try to rip that, okay? So you can kind of just try to get a little bit more like that on the side. You can come over here, just a pinch, without trying to rip your dough. See how it's sticky, so it's going to kind of stay like that. And then you can come back over here if you like. One side, give it one good pull. Something like that, okay? See how we kind of did that last little bit of tension? And what I do is I kind of try to smooth it out, just a pinch. See how we pulled that and we didn't rip the little bit of butter right there? We kind of gave it a little last minute tension. All right, so this is what you're going to do. I'm going to put a little bit more rice flour on this. Just like so. Remember, this is all going to fall off in the morning time because it's very coarse. I just give it a good pat. Okay. All right, now one more thing. I want you to go ahead and temp your dough because I'm going to let you know kind of the time frame. You'll know on your time frame how long to keep it in the fridge by what your dough is temping out. So kind of just real gentle, kind of ease it in there, okay? Don't go all the way down. You don't want to poke the bottom of your dough out, okay? You just want to give this a minute to catch up. More than likely it'll be the same degree. Okay, it's coming in at 75.5. Okay. You could patch that little hole up that you did. Okay, just like that. Now what you're going to do, so our dough doesn't dry out, just be gentle because you still want, your dough is still going to grow. It's only about 50% of the way done, so just go like that. And I kind of just go over with it like that. I'll do the thin pieces first. Kind of just in a nice loose ball so your dough can still expand. Okay, something like that. Tuck any holes you see that might be sticking out. Okay, and the rice flour is also going to prevent your dough from drying out, so you don't want this tight. Like I said, see how I did that? You can go like that with it, you know, cover it up, cover it up, cover it up, just like so. Okay, I'm going to go put this in the fridge real quick. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to kind of give you a time frame of how long to leave this in the fridge. All right, and that'll be it. Okay, so we got our final temp down. Our dough was coming in at 75. I just forgot what it was. I didn't write it down. I believe it's 75.5. So this is what this tells me, and this is what this should tell you. When you took your dough out of the bowl and you shaped it and your temperature is coming in at 75 degrees, that means we're already 50% of the way done with our bulk fermentation time, okay? So that means we only have 50 more % of it to go for it to grow in the fridge and the yeast to complete eating its sugar and complete bulking our dough up. So in hindsight, if that took us a total of it's probably closer to 7 hours, I'm going to estimate it took us from the time we started our bulk fermentation until now. If it's going to be a good bet for you that you can go ahead and leave your dough in the fridge for about 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours. And you can wake up first thing in the morning and bake your dough, and it will be at its peak, at its full potential. Because, like I said, we already are at the 50% mark of it being done. The yeast is being done with its job, so that's a really good thing. All right. If you're still lost on the temperature and the bulk fermentation times, go to my playlist. Go check out what bulk fermentation means. I explain everything in that video, okay? All right. With that being said, I will see you back here first thing in the morning, and I'm going to show you how to bake this off. And with that being said, have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, all right? Good morning. It is bake day. Now is the time to go ahead and get your Dutch oven ready to go to be placed in the oven, and we are going to turn our oven on 450 degrees and let this heat up for about an hour in the oven, okay? And one more thing, make sure that your Dutch oven is nice and clean before you use it so the heat can get evenly distributed throughout your dough when we're putting this in here. All right, with that being said, I'm going to go put my Dutch oven in the oven on 450 degrees, and I will see you in about an hour, okay? Okay, it has officially been an hour. The Dutch oven is ready to go in the oven, so let's go ahead and prep our dough, and we're going to bake this off, okay? First things first, this does have butter, so let's go ahead and use parchment paper today. Here's a little trick for you. Take your parchment paper and crumple it up. Just like that. This will prevent your paper from creating those weird little lines sometimes you see when you cook on parchment paper around your dough when it cooks. All right. And one more quick tip about parchment paper. Please try to buy unbleached parchment paper. If you're working with clean ingredients, what do you want to bake on clean ingredients? You know, you really probably don't want to cook your dough on bleach, since parchment paper, when it's white, it has bleach in it, okay? All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and check out our dough we made yesterday. Look, wow. Get that. So what I like to do, I told you it would grow in the fridge, is I like to dust off any of the little bit of rice flour. Okay, let's get our parchment paper, something like that. Just flip this upside down, okay. Take this off. All right, this should not stick at all. And you'll notice with rice flour, you'll notice that it'll be stuck on your flour cloth, which is a nice thing. Peel that off, just like so. What a beautiful loaf. You hear the rice flour? Now here is your time. If you want to do a very pretty score with your loaf, and you want to get your little razor blade out and make those pretty designs and put flour on, all you have to do is get a little spray bottle of filtered water, spritz your dough, sprinkle your flour on top, and it'll make it all nice and white, and you can do your pretty little designs, okay? I have never been into making designs on my dough. It's just, I go through bread really fast in my house, so I don't know, it's not my forte. Okay. Now, this is how I like, some people, I'm going to show you how I score my bread. Some people use, you know, pretty designs. Some people do the ear, not me. I just turn it over like this, kind of right in the center. I will take some scissors and I will start at an angle, per se, like that. And I will just try to get this in pretty deep at an angle, kind of like that. I try to go at an angle, something like that. I go all the way down. Okay. I try to get it all the way down to the bottom of the loaf. Okay, and then I will turn it around. And I will come right over here to the bottom side of that. And that's it. And for reference, I want you to see how deep that went. So about that. If that's a good reference for you, okay? All right. So this is set. This is my loaf. I'm going to go stick this in my Dutch oven. And then I'm going to put the lid back on my Dutch oven. And I'm going to bake this for 50 minutes. So I will see you back at the stove in 50 minutes. And we're going to take the lid off. And depending on what the crust looks like, we're going to bake it for at least another 10 to 20 minutes. With that being said, I'll see you in about 50 minutes, okay? Okay, it's been 50 minutes. Wow. I think I like my crust a little darker, so I'm going to go set this back in the oven for 10 more minutes, and we'll see what it's looking like then, okay? Okay, I just took the lid off. It's been 50 minutes. Wow, that's looking delicious. I like my crust a little bit darker, so I'm going to place this back in the oven with the lid off for another 10 minutes. So I will see you then. Okay, it's been 10 more minutes. I still want this side to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to put this back in the oven for another 10 minutes, and then we're going to take this out. So I will see you then. Okay, perfect. This is how I like my crust. All right, next step, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to temp your dough right in the middle. Get it right in there. Let it set just for 15-20 seconds. You want your dough, well, I should say your bread now. You want your bread to at least be 200 degrees internal. Okay, if it's not, you need to lower the temperature in your oven and keep on baking it, okay? All right, so it looks like we are coming in at 210 degrees. Perfect. Okay, we've passed the test. Next step, let's go ahead and take this out of the Dutch oven. I'm going to show you kind of how I like to do it. Let me get my mitts. Careful. Remember, your parchment paper is not going to be hot, but your Dutch oven is, okay? Now, what I like to do, especially when it's buttery, I like to, like, slide it. Here, let me take that glove. Slide this off. Okay, malfunction. Slide that off, like so. And you will notice all that butter that is left in your Dutch oven, okay? So what I like to do with that is I like to just pour this right over the top of my bread, okay? All right, technical difficulty over with. Here's the time you need to go take your Dutch oven to your sink. Turn on your water to the hottest setting, and I want you to go soak your Dutch oven so none of this is getting crusted. It's going to easily wash out after you soak it a few hours, okay? With that being said, go take your Dutch oven to your sink, fill it up with some hot water, put some dish soap, and let it soak, okay? Okay, now that we got that, we're going to go ahead and slide off our parchment paper. If this is hot, your parchment paper will always slide right off. Easy breezy. Okay, so this is what our loaf is looking like. It smells wonderful. Now you're going to notice this is very, very hard right now, but I promise you, with our hydration being 70%, this is going to be a nice, soft crust, especially with the amount of butter that we used. With that being said, I want you to be very patient and let this cool for about 3 hours. You have to realize when you first take this out of the Dutch oven, your bread is still cooking internally. It's still doing those last minute finishing up the cooking of the inside of your bread, hence your dough, okay? So if you cut into this early, you're going to have a pretty good chance it's going to come out gummy, even though you did everything right, bulk fermentation, okay? So please be patient. Let it finish doing its job, and I will officially see you back here in 3 hours. Remember, if I can wait 3 hours, you can wait 3 hours. With that being said, I'll see you in 3 hours, okay? Alrighty, it's been well over 3 hours. This is what our bread is looking like. Hear that? Told you it would turn soft. Let's do the knock test. Okay, this is what my color is looking like. This is what the bottom looks like. Nice and that crispy golden brown. Now, could you please keep in mind, if you do not like your crust this dark, you can always bake your loaf for an hour and it'll be a lot lighter than this will. So I just like a darker crust. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and cut into this, shall we? And what do you guys think this is going to look like? Think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Do you think it's going to be gummy? Either way, we're going to find out. So let's cut right into this. Always set your knife away from you. You ready? Wow. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. Oh, nice and fluffy, soft. I want to give you the close-up of that. Do you notice that? There's no gummy spots. Notice that the crust is sticking to the bread right there. Or to the crumb, I should say. Isn't that wonderful? Look how big that is. Wow. Let me show you the... Look at that spring. Look at that oven spring. Isn't that wonderful? Beautiful. This is the product of nailing out your bulk fermentation, knowing your hydration, knowing how to cook your bread properly, and one of the most important parts, having a strong, healthy starter. That's what it boils down to. Pretty nice, right? All right. I want to try a piece with you. Let's go ahead and cut this open. Or cut it in half, I should say. Okay. Leave that right there. Now, this is how I like to cut my bread. And some people will go that way. I just go down the side. Let's try this croissant crust, shall we? Wow. That's so buttery and salty tasting. It tastes wonderful. Wow. Apologies, I don't want to speak with my mouth full. Right, well, that is my take on one big, massive croissant sourdough loaf for you. I feel like it was not bad, considering it only took us about 7 hours to make this from start to finish. And it sat in the fridge for a total of about 12 hours. So like always, I will go ahead and post the recipe down below for you. I will post the oven temperature, how long I cooked it for, how long it was in the fridge, all those fun little details for you, so you can screenshot that and you can keep that in your little sourdough diaries or sourdough journal or recipe book, whatever you use to keep this recipe for forever and beyond if you try this out and you really, really like it. I hope you do. I hope you like it as much as I do. With all that being said, I always appreciate you guys watching my videos here on YouTube. I always appreciate a like and maybe a subscribe. I hope maybe all my videos that I do for you, I hope I'm teaching you little tips and tricks and maybe to help you get very, very successful in your sourdough journey, and know that if I can make this, you guys can absolutely make this as well. With the right knowledge, like I said, it boils down to 3, maybe 4 things you just have to master in your sourdough journey to be able to create something exactly like this. Do you understand what a strong starter is? Do you understand what hydration means in your recipe? How to do perfect your own little recipes? Do you understand how hydration affects your recipe, especially when it comes to inclusions? Do you understand bulk fermentation times? Do you understand that whole process? And last but not least, do you understand how to properly bake a loaf of sourdough? If you can get those 4 things down, the world is your oyster when it comes to the sourdough world, okay? You can absolutely, with a shadow of a doubt, hands down, bake anything your little heart desires, all right? With all that being said, If you guys liked anything in this video, I was using maybe my little whiskey poo to my bowls, maybe my bread knife, etc. Anything you saw in the video that you liked, I will go ahead and post some Amazon links down below for you. I will name each one of them so it's not just scattered and you're blindly coming in. You can click on it and go check it out on Amazon if you like. If not, it's not a big deal because, like I said, you only need the ingredients in your hands technically, and whatever bowl you got laying around in your house to absolutely create this, okay? So, with all that being said, like always, may the odds forever be in your favor on your sourdough journey, and keep blazing your trail.